Hello, LAC 2. This is the read aloud for the Unit 1 test, theme and characterization. This is the modified version of the exam. The first set of 8 questions will come from The Day I Got Lost. The read aloud for that is located in your course. It's also in the guided reading document, and it will be linked separately from the question read aloud. Question number 1. How does Isaac Bashevis Singer develop Professor Schlemiel as a round character over the course of The Day I Got Lost? Singer lets Professor Schlemiel's appearance be the most important means of characterizing him. Or, Singer trusts the reader to understand that Schlemiel is the opposite of the way he describes himself. Or, Singer makes Professor Schlemiel, the main character, narrate a series of his own mishaps to show that he is a forgetful person. Please pause your recording and choose an answer to number 1. Question 2. Which statement best supports the conclusion that Professor Schlemiel is a static character? Professor Schlemiel learns to better manage his time and his belongings, and he ends up being less forgetful. Or, Professor Schlemiel starts the story by narrating examples of his own forgetfulness, and at the end he acknowledges that his ongoing forgetfulness might cause him to lose the draft to his book. Or, Professor Schlemiel ponders the riddle of which came first, the chicken or the egg, and this question shows him to be intellectual and thoughtful. Please pause your recording and choose an answer to question 2. Question 3. Which detail from the story The Day I Got Lost by Isaac Singer best shapes the theme that treating others with empathy can help people get through a difficult situation? I tried to call a number of friends, those whose telephone numbers I happened to think of, but whenever I called, I got the same reply. They've gone to a party at Professor Schlemiel's. Or, he drove me to the nearest drugstore with a telephone booth in it, but he refused to wait. I was about to enter the store when I realized I had left my briefcase behind. I ran after the taxi shouting, "My briefcase, my briefcase!" but the taxi was already out of earshot. Or, I patted the dog on his wet head and he wagged his tail. "Whatever happens to me will happen to you," I said. "I'll keep you with me until we both find our homes. If we don't find your master, you'll stay with me. Give me your paw," I said. The dog lifted his right paw. There was no question that he understood. Please pause your recording and choose an answer to question 3. Question 4. How does Isaac Bashevis Singer use direct characterization to develop the main character in The Day I Got Lost? Professor Schlemiel's inability to remember his address astonishes the taxi driver. Or, Professor Schlemiel's wife, long familiar with his behavior, warns him, "Now don't forget your address." Or, Professor Schlemiel calls himself forgetful and says he's always blundering and losing things. Please pause the recording, choose an answer to number 4. Question 5. Refer to the excerpt from The Day I Got Lost. Quote, "I've been living in New York City for over 40 years, yet whenever I want to go uptown, I find myself going downtown, and when I want to go east, I go west. I'm always late, and I never recognize anybody." End quote. What conclusion can be made about Schlemiel using the direct characterization from the above passage? He is absent-minded and forgetful, or he is self-reliant and confident in his decisions, or he loves to travel uptown. Please pause the recording and choose an answer to question 5. Question 6. How does Isaac Bashevis Singer use Professor Schlemiel's actions related to the dog Bow Wow to help with indirect characterization in The Day I Got Lost? The conversation between Schlemiel and his wife shows that his wife's view of him is correct. Or, Schlemiel's treatment of the dog shows that Schlemiel is a kind, tender person. Or, from the dog's point of view, the reader can sense that Schlemiel is a man who can be trusted. Please pause the recording and choose your answer to question 6. Question 7. Refer to explorations in literature for a complete version of the story. How does this interaction between Professor Schlemiel and the babysitter provide an example of indirect characterization? Quote, "They left your house about an hour ago," the girl said. "Can you tell me where they went?" I asked. "But I've just told you," she said, "they went to your house." "But where do I live?" "You must be kidding," the girl said, and hung up. End quote. The quote shows readers how Professor Schlemiel treats the babysitter badly as a result of his frustrating, difficult situation. The quote allows readers to know the inner thoughts of Professor Schlemiel. Or the quote gives readers an example of the effect Professor Schlemiel has on other people who do not understand his absent-mindedness. Pause the recording and choose an answer to question 7. Question 8. How does the excerpt below teach the reader about Professor Schlemiel using indirect characterization? Quote, "To distract myself, I began to ponder the ancient philosophical problem. A mother chicken lays an egg. I thought to myself, and when it hatches, there's a chicken. That's how it's always been. Every chicken comes from an egg, and every egg comes from a chicken. But there was a chicken first or an egg first? No philosopher has ever been able to solve this eternal question. Just the same, there must be an answer. Perhaps I, Schlemiel, am destined to stumble upon it." The reader can infer that Professor Schlemiel is positive because he focuses on his knowledge of philosophy and his intellect, despite his hardship. The reader can infer that Professor Schlemiel is easily discouraged because he fails to both find his way home and to answer the philosophical question. The reader can infer that Professor Schlemiel is resourceful because he uses a telephone book and his briefcase to find an answer to the question he seeks. Please pause the recording and choose an answer to question 8. This concludes the first set of questions on your test, numbers 1 through 8, all of which came from The Day I Got Lost.